So here we are in Sridham, Mayapur, and we're going to have sound effects of trucks. You hear the truck in the background? There's actually construction going on next door, and they start at 7. I just heard a conch shell. You're going to hear a lot of animals. I'm sitting on my porch, and it's too dark in my room. When I turn the lights on, the light's not good. So this is where we are, and this is what you're going to see. I mean, not what you're going to see. This is what you're going to hear. So I don't even know if you're hearing it well, but hopefully you are. Hopefully you can see me well. We had our internet connection fixed yesterday, and so it seems to be working well. Now, what happens is if too many people get on the internet while we're doing this broadcast, it could cough and sputter. So we're going to see, but other than that, we're going to try. Now, as far as I know, according to my iPod, it says that 6:30 a.m. in India is on Wednesday. 6:30 a.m. Wednesday morning is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States. So, that we'll have to see. Okay, so everything seems to be working. I'm on Krishna.com looking at myself, and yeah, it seems to be working well. Good. Carol says, I can see and hear you. Wonderful. Thank you. So, time is right, yeah. It's because daylight savings time. Yes. So, what I thought we should do, because it was recently Prabhupada's appearance day, I thought, well, today is Tuesday night, and at least in Mayapur, of course, to Mayapur it's Wednesday morning, but on Wednesday, no, was it Saturday? Last Saturday we celebrated Prabhupada's disappearance. So, and a devotee had just written me asking for me to tell her something about Prabhupada. So I just wrote her this morning, and I thought, well, why don't we talk about Prabhupada? And particularly, devotees always ask, well, what was it like to be with Prabhupada? And one of Prabhupada's senior disciples, Guru Das, is here, and he spoke on Prabhupada's disappearance day. And hearing him speak, I was telling devotees, I said, this is, just by hearing Guru Das speak, you get a sense of what it was like to be with Prabhupada. Or I would say the best sense that I think you could get. It just brought us right into what it was like to be with Prabhupada. And one of the things he said was that with Prabhupada things were always dynamic. Meaning, everything was expanding. And Prabhupada was, how should we say, Prabhupada was moving on different fronts and always encouraging the preaching and coming up with various ideas of how to preach and taking the enthusiasm that the devotees had to preach and expanding it and encouraging it. So that, accompanied with his own plans, things were always moving, growing, dynamic. Nothing was ever stagnating, what to speak of reducing. It was always increasing, increasing, increasing. So that was Prabhupada's mode, you could say, his mode of operandus, is that he was always moving forward, tirelessly. And because of that, he was bringing all of us with him. So we were also moving forward. It created a kind of culture. And Prabhupada's moving forward, so we become inspired to move forward. And then, of course, some devotees are more inspired than others, and those who are more inspired end up inadvertently inspiring others because of the service they're doing. So there was this culture in ISKCON where naturally in your own service you would be very inspired because of the inspiration that Prabhupada had given to so many of his disciples. And so you're surrounded by inspired people. So it was a culture of inspiration. And that is why things expanded so well, so quickly. And one of the interesting things, I think, if you look at it with a fine-tooth comb or a magnifying glass, is that the devotees that were expanding the movement were all very new devotees. And also very young. Everyone was in their early 20s, even late teens. And these were the devotees that were expanding the movement around the world and doing phenomenal things. Opening temples, distributing books widely, publishing books in many different languages. And completely giving their lives to spreading Krishna consciousness and not considering personal convenience, not considering personal comfort, but only considering the mission. And so it seems that this is the behavior, or this is the activity of those who are very Krishna conscious, very advanced devotees, because Krishna Shakti Vina Naitara Pravartana. Only one who is empowered with Krishna Shakti can spread Krishna consciousness. So I find it interesting, if you just analyze it from this perspective, how could people who are very new to Krishna consciousness do so much? Because generally we understand that the Krishna consciousness that you have is what you give to others. And how could those who are very young give very much? And my understanding, or my personal experience, is that a couple of things were going on. Number one, it's true the devotees were not that advanced. And or we could say, I could speak personally and say, how could we be advanced? We'd only joined ISKCON 6 months, a year before we were asked to do services like open temples, expand book distribution, do college preaching. I was 19 years old, I was preaching in college classrooms. A college dropout preaching in college classes. How was this going on? And what could I give, having been a devotee a year? And also, being a devotee now in ISKCON for 1 year is different than being a devotee then for 1 year, in the sense that now you're surrounded by people who have been devotees 20, 30, 40 years. You can hear classes from people who have that kind of experience in Krishna consciousness. But when we were young devotees, we were surrounded by people who would join about the same time we joined. So it wasn't that we were surrounded by many senior people. So, how could such young devotees who didn't know very much do so much? I would say two things. Number one, I would say yes, we weren't very advanced, we weren't very renounced by realization, although externally I would say we were very renounced. And we weren't carrying much Krishna consciousness because we didn't have much. So how could we give it if we didn't have it? I think the first principle is that the devotees were willing to do whatever Prabhupada wanted and give themselves wholeheartedly to that. So, therefore, Prabhupada could enter Hare Krishna Pallavi. The devotees could, in a sense, carry Prabhupada with them. So it wasn't that they were giving themselves, but they're actually giving Prabhupada. Of course, you could say you're giving yourself, but primarily there was such a deep connection between themselves and Prabhupada. And the degree of surrender, it wasn't manifest, I don't believe, so much because of Krishna conscious realization and Krishna conscious detachment, but more so because of attachment to Prabhupada and wanting to do what he wanted and being dedicated to him. And that was the motivation. So I mean, it's there today also, but today devotees are more advanced. They have more Krishna consciousness to give people. They have more realization to give people. and I would say in that time we had less, and so we depended much more on giving people Prabhupada. We just felt we didn't really have much to give, and we very much connected with Prabhupada's will and desire as his instrument, and we couldn't act so independently, because not that in the sense that we can act, we don't want to act ever independently of Prabhupada, but in the sense of independently being more individually intelligent in executing Prabhupada's instructions. This is what he wants, how can we do it? Using creativity, using intelligence. In those days, I would say it was more of a dependence on Prabhupada, where we didn't have that intelligence to even consider so much how to spread Krishna consciousness. But we totally relied on Prabhupada and his vision and his plans, and then we would just execute that vision exactly as he gave it to us. So, sounds of a bird in a little morning sunlight. Yes, the sun is over there. I'm going to go look at my picture and see. And you hear, yes, sunlight on my eyes. Huh? The sun is right there. You want to see the Mayapur sun? Okay, let's move the camera. We'll give you a view of Mayapur. Sunrise. Hold on. Through a screen. You're going to get it through a screen. Can you see it? Now probably all you see is big sun. Now I'm going to give you a vision of the new temple. And I hope I don't drop my computer, because if I do, it's going to fall 3 stories. You see there's a building on your left? That's a guest house being built. But to the right of that, can you see? That's the new temple. Maybe you see on the right up close is an apartment, pink apartment. That's across from where I live. But I think you can see in the distance. I'll just move around. I don't know. Now you can see fields, birds, and then you should see that temple. That's the new Vedic planetarium. So I guess we're just going to have to go with sunlight on my face. Or seems like we lost. Uh-oh. Krishna Govinda Hari Murai. So, I think we may have frozen up here because I'm looking at my picture and go. Let me check with you guys and see if it froze. Okay. Way